jump right into it. College football and the NFL. Some big games last week and even bigger ones coming up.
Absolutely. The excitement just keeps building.
We've got this great CBS Sports article as our roadmap for today's deep dive. We're going to dissect the college football playoff picture, break down those nail-biting game outcomes, and really get a feel for the rivalries that are setting the field on fire.
I'm excited to dive into that playoff picture. It really is amazing how these late-season games can make or break a team's championship dreams.
You're telling me one win or loss at this stage, and everything changes.
It's all about momentum.
Speaking of momentum, let's talk about that Georgia game.
Oh, man. 8 overtimes against Georgia Tech. You can't script that kind of drama.
8 overtimes. And they were down by 17 points at halftime.
That's what I love about college football. You never know what's going to happen.
It was a wild one.
Seriously, think about it. A 17-point deficit for a team like Georgia under Kirby Smart. You don't see that very often.
Definitely not a typical Georgia performance. What I find interesting, though, is that it was the second longest FBS game since 1996. Imagine being a fan in the stands for that one.
You're talking about 8 hours of football, folks. That's like watching the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy back to back. But, you have to hand it to Georgia. They could have folded under that pressure, but they found a way to win.
Do you think it took too much out of them? I mean, 8 overtimes this late in the season?
It's a valid concern. It's almost like they ran a marathon and now they've got to sprint another mile. You have to wonder how much they have left in the tank.
Exactly. But they won, right? So surely that solidifies their spot in the college football playoff.
I'd say so. The selection committee loves teams that can win under pressure, and Georgia, they check that box big time. Now let's shift gears to a huge matchup this weekend. We're talking Texas A&M versus Texas, the Lone Star Showdown.
I love this rivalry. Every year, it seems like it gets even more intense.
Oh, and this year, the stakes are incredibly high, especially with those CFP implications looming over everything.
So much on the line for both teams. What do you think?
Well, for Texas A&M, they're sitting at 3 losses in the SEC. This is a must-win situation for them if they want to have any shot at the playoffs.
And for Texas.
Texas is in a good spot, but a win here would cement their place in the CFP rankings. Brandon Marcello from CBS is predicting a Texas win, giving them a 6-point advantage.
Texas ain't at a 6.
Yeah, Marcello's pointing to their consistent performance this season. However, there's one big question mark hanging over this game: Quinn Ewers and that high ankle sprain.
Oh, you're right. That ankle sprain could be a game changer.
These injuries, especially this late in the season, they can really make or break a team's chances. It's interesting, though, because while we're on the subject of teams shaking things up, have you seen what South Carolina has been doing lately?
You in their 5-game winning streak? I'm impressed.
5 straight wins, including a victory over, you guessed it, Texas A&M.
They are on fire, and they're going up against Clemson next.
And that game, my friend, has the potential to be a massive upset. If they pull it off, it could really shake up those CFP rankings.
That would be something else. What I like about South Carolina's streak is they're not just winning, they're dominating their opponents. Do you think this is another Cinderella story in the making?
It's definitely got that feel to it, and you know what? I think we need a Cinderella story this year. It would be amazing to see them pull it off.
Okay, now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the NFL. Week 13 is coming up, and there's some pretty exciting matchups on the schedule. We've got the 49ers heading to Buffalo to take on the Bills.
Oh, Buffalo in December, what could be better?
Snow, wind, frigid temperatures. It's going to be a real test for both teams.
You think those conditions might favor the Bills a little bit?
I think so. Especially with Josh Allen. He's like a snowplow out there, practically unstoppable in those conditions.
He just powers through everything. The 49ers are going to have their work cut out for them.
They're going to need to dig deep if they want to stay competitive in the NFC West. Their season has been kind of all over the place, so this win would be huge.
It would definitely be a statement win. They've got Christian McCaffrey in that run game. That could be key for them to control the clock and keep the Bills' offense off the field.
You would think the run game would be even more important in a game with that kind of weather. Snow and wind. I mean, who wants to throw the ball in that?
Right. And the 49ers are built for that kind of game, but the Bills, they have a strong defense too, so it's going to be a battle.
A battle for sure. Okay, speaking of battles, how about that Ravens versus Eagles game this week? It's being billed as a potential Super Bowl preview.
2 powerhouses going head-to-head. It's going to be amazing. And what's interesting is that we have 2 completely different styles of play clashing. The Eagles, with their balanced attack, Jalen Hurts' dual threat abilities, and then you've got the Ravens, who rely so much on Lamar Jackson and his unique playmaking. It's almost like a chess match.
It's going to be a fascinating matchup, I agree. Do you think the Eagles' defense can handle Lamar Jackson? I mean, they've been one of the best in the league, but Lamar, he's just different.
He's electrifying, that's for sure. The key for the Eagles will be containing his scrambling. He's so dangerous when he breaks outside the pocket. If they can keep him contained, force him to make throws from the pocket, they'll have a better chance of slowing down that Ravens offense.
But don't forget about the Ravens' defense. They've got playmakers,
Oh,
too.
yeah, absolutely. They're going to be coming after Jalen Hurts for sure. It's going to be a war out there.
Now, let's talk about a game that might not be getting as much attention, but I think could be interesting. Chargers at the Falcons.
What do you see happening in that matchup?
Well, the Falcons are coming off a bye week, so they've had some time to rest and prepare. And the Chargers just played that tough game on Monday night against the Ravens.
So you think fatigue could be a factor for the Chargers?
It could be, especially for a team that relies so heavily on their passing game. Even a great quarterback like Justin Herbert needs time to recover after a game like that. Plus, the Falcons have this really strong rushing attack. Bijan Robinson and Tyler Allgeier, they can do some damage. And the Chargers have been a little vulnerable against the run this season.
That's a good point. The Chargers' defense has struggled at times against strong running games. If the Falcons can establish the run early, they might be able to pull off an upset.
It'll be interesting to see how they adjust. All right, so as we head into the final stretch of the college football season and the heart of the NFL season, what are your key takeaways for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway is that every game counts. The stakes get higher with each passing week, and we're seeing the playoff picture start to take shape in both leagues. But there's still plenty of room for surprises.
We've been talking about teams like South Carolina in college football, the 49ers in the NFL. Do you really think they still have a chance to defy expectations and make a run?
Absolutely. Anything can happen in these final weeks. We've seen it before, right?
True, true. And in the NFL, these late season games often come down to which teams are the healthiest and the most resilient. A long season takes its toll, both physically and mentally.
It does. And the teams that can handle that, weather the storm, so to speak, those are the teams that usually make it to the playoff.
Resilience is definitely key. It's
Yeah.
all about maintaining that hunger, that focus, even when you're facing adversity.
You've got it. And for us fans, that's what makes this time of year so exciting. Every game has the potential to be a thriller, and you never know what's going to happen next.
I love that point about resilience. It really does make a difference, especially in these pressure cooker situations. You mentioned how anything can happen in these final weeks. So I'm curious, which of these underdogs do you think has the best shot at defying the odds and making a real run for the championship?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, if I had to pick, I think I'd go with South Carolina in college football. They've just got this energy about them right now. That win against Texas A&M, that was a statement win. Plus, they've got another chance to prove themselves against Clemson.
I hear you, but I'm leaning towards the 49ers in the NFL. If they can win in Buffalo, that would show they're the real deal,
It would definitely be a challenging win.
for sure.
Yeah.
But they've got the pieces. Their defense has been incredible, and Christian McCaffrey gives them that reliable running game, someone who can just wear down the other team. And don't forget Kyle Shanahan. He's a master at designing offensive plays. I bet he can find a way to exploit some weaknesses in the Bills' defense.
You raised some great points. The 49ers definitely have the potential to be a serious threat. If their offense finds some consistency, they could go far.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
going to be exciting to see how it all unfolds. Well, folks, that about wraps up this deep dive into college football and the NFL.
We've seen some incredible comebacks, some hard-fought battles, and we even got a glimpse of what the future holds for these teams as they make their push for the playoffs.
It's amazing how unpredictable these sports can be, especially at this point in the season.
You never know what's going to happen next. That's the beauty of it.
Exactly. So, to all our listeners, enjoy the games. Keep an eye out for those unexpected twists and turns. And most importantly, let us know who you're rooting for. We love hearing from you.